Coffee talk. Hmm. So I had a very interesting dream. Uh, in my journey of sobriety, and I've had multiple times of getting sober. I've learned a lot of things, and oftentimes I will impart the things I have learned. I'll go back and I'll run groups, and sponsor guys, all of the thing. I'll keep active in the community as it is, as it were. I don't know. That should be past or present tense. Anyway, so in the dream, I had gone back to the most recent place where I did my group therapy, my IOP, and everything, which I'm planning on doing actually. And I went in to give a quick 10, 15 minute whatever to all the guys in the group. Uh, so my dream was basically that's what I was doing, you know. And I was telling these guys, I was looking at them, and I'm very fond of doing this one particular exercise. Uh, Prove a point. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But so I was telling them that, I asked them all a question, and that question was, how many of you in here think you know yourself? If someone were to come up to you and say, "Do you know yourself?" Most of us would say, "Yeah." And so I asked them because almost everybody in the group said, "Yeah, I know myself." Okay, then why are you here? Why are you in rehab? Why are you struggling? Why has your life become unmanageable? If you know yourself so well, you're, you know, you know what you like, what you dislike, what offends you, what doesn't offend you, so forth and so on. How did you end up in this predicament? Because then obviously your best thinking got to where? Of course, none of that an answer. Um, Most people, and I struggled with this for a long time. Yeah, we do think we know ourselves. No, what you know is what you're taught. What you know is all the stuff you've been shown, all the stuff that you have fed your subconscious mind through a myriad of different forms and formats, from things you were told as a child to your friendships and whatever through schooling years, to the things you watch on TV, the things you read, the music you listen to. You know, you know your fears, your insecurities. You know your emotions to some extent because you've probably been acting on them for most of your life. But most people don't truly know themselves. What you know is the personification that you put out to the world. You know that. You know the personification of what you have internally, how you view yourself, and oftentimes those two are at juxtaposition or conflict with each other. You have an idea of the third personification, which is what others think of you. Essentially, what you know is your ego. All of those are function of the ego. And when I say that, I don't mean egotistical. There's a difference. And all of those are necessary functions of the human psyche. But while you're running around just allowing that to dictate your life on a daily basis, going through whatever routine it is you're going through, you're not actually creating your life. You're a passenger at that point. You're not actually driving. You're not actually in control. You think you are. Oh, I get up and I go to work and I do this and I do that. Great. Those are wonderful things. Those are all wonderful routines. How many people get up every morning and go, God, I gotta go to work, instead of I get to go to work today? That's the difference. It sounds so stupid. It sounds so simple, and it is, but it's a complete change. It's a complete paradigm shift in your perspective and the way you look at things, and the way you're processing things. You know, do we all do things that we don't like to do or don't want to do? Yes, of course. It's just a fact of life. You know, sometimes I thoroughly, I really don't want to sit down and eat, but I know I have to because I can't starve to death. Okay, fine, maybe I can go on a quick fast or whatever, but you know, I don't always enjoy taking a dump, but hey, it's a necessary function. Okay. Do I wake up every time I have to go to work and think, yeah, great, I get to go to work? No, not every day. Of course, we all have our ebbs and flows. Okay, but there's a difference. There's a subtle difference. And I see a lot of guys in the rehabs, and trust me, I always speak from experience. So this is all stuff I've experienced. And something as simple as a 5 minute chore. Oh, I gotta do my chore, man. Oh, I don't want to go to this group. I don't want to do that. And then they wonder why they're in these group therapies for so long, and they wonder why they're not officially making progress and why they're being held back, because your thinking hasn't changed. You're still trying to, in many, many subtle ways, express your will. You're still trying to do things the way you want to do it, when you want to do it, how you want to do it. And in a lot of ways, which is very self-centered and very selfish and childless and childish in the aspect of it's egocentric. Okay. How you change the ego? A big thing is through humility. Um, and there are a lot of things to do this: humility, accountability, ownership. You'll never get rid of it, no, but you can definitely bring it to a more healthy balance so that it is no longer over or under inflated, as they say. You need a good ego death, really, because once that happens, it's a lot easier to reprogram the subconscious mind and change your perspective and literally change your reality. You might still be doing the same things. You might still have the same car. You might still have the same job, but you're going to look at it totally different. And there are thousands of tools that we learn throughout this program to do these things. But most of the guys, and I'm guilty of this too, which is why I've been to so many programs, you hear it, you understand it intellectually, cognitively, but that doesn't necessarily mean you apply it. Because at some point between hearing it and understanding the words, the comprehension, there's a disconnect before you put it here. And one of the exercises I like to do to prove all of these points to a lot of guys in group is, the exercise of the uncomfortable silence. I don't tell them what I'm doing. I just set a timer, 30 seconds. And I sit. I don't say a word. I might make eye contact with everybody. Usually within 10 to 15 seconds, everyone in the room is uncomfortable in some way, shape, or form. They're either trying to distract themselves with their phones, their legs are shaking, they're looking around, they're wondering what's going on. You know, in the extreme cases, they start getting paranoid because I made eye contact with them and they think it's all about them. You know, try it. See if you can sit for 30 seconds and just be in the moment as much as possible. See how long it takes you before you start getting anxious or nervous or you're trying to distract yourself. It means you're not even comfortable in your own skin. You're not comfortable with yourself. And that will start to uncover the real root cause of most people who suffer from addiction or escapism in some way, shape, or form. Most people always blame it on external stuff. Well, if this hadn't happened, if I hadn't lost this job, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff happened because of what's going on in here. And that's what they mean by your life has become unmanageable. They're not talking about, oh, the car you lost, the job. Oh, no, they're talking about your internal emotional state, your true reality. So you take that and, then you run into the other side of it. A lot of these guys, you'll hear them talking all the time. Oh yeah, as soon as I graduate this IOP, and then then I can do this, and then I can do that, and it sounds like they're making goals, but what they're really doing is they're just grasping at the next external validation. Oh, as soon as I graduate this, and what they're really thinking and feeling is, oh, I'll be happy, and then I can move on to the next step, and I can get out of here, blah 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 blah. It's a form of lack mindset, and that's how subtle and cunning is, to use the terms in the big book. Um, you know how cunning and baffling this disease can be. You think you're doing good, you think you're making progress, and in a way you are. But what you're missing and what you're not realizing is you've you've just changed it. Instead of going to a drug or alcohol as a coping mechanism to escape what you're really feeling in here or lack thereof, you're going to something else. Oh, as soon as I complete this program, internally there's a little bit of you that's saying, I'll be proud of myself and I'll love myself. Maybe not those exact words, but that's what you're telling yourself. When I get the next thing, when I get the next thing, I get these nice new shoes, when I get that pretty jewelry from Temu, when I get that girl, when I get that job, I'll be happy then. I'll be sober then. Thinking about it the wrong way, going about it the wrong way. And I can promise you, almost guarantee you, if you continue down that path like that, you will fail. Because the thought process and the behavior hasn't actually changed. You might have put down the substance that you were abusing. And that's a good start. That is a damn good start. But that's not living in sobriety. To truly live in sobriety, it takes an entire paradigm shift. Everything about you've got to expose and then change. Now, the ironic part is when you do this, from the outside looking in, it's going to look like nothing really changed. Not much, anyway. Internally, you will feel completely differently, and you will look at the world totally differently. To truly live in sobriety, and I don't necessarily just mean sobriety, from drugs and alcohol. I mean sobriety from codependencies, workaholic, shopaholic, porn, whatever it is. You have to build a life that you no longer want to escape, which usually means, in my experience, you have to truly start to love yourself in many, many ways. You've got to reprogram yourself to stop believing that you're not enough, that you're not worthy, not only of self-love, but from love of the universe or the divine or anyone else for that matter. And you have to stop putting the expectation that you're going to receive that from an outside source. You can and you probably will once you give it to yourself first. That's how the law of attraction works. So manifestation truly works. When you truly wholeheartedly believe it first within yourself, then does it appear in reality. Light coffee talk, huh? By the way, winter's back. It came back with a vengeance. We got like 3 inches of snow last night. The last 3 days it was like 50 something degrees. I'm like, well, okay, it is January. I'm not going to complain. It's beautiful. Do I struggle with all these concepts? Yeah. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. We'd be really boring. So, have a blessed day.